Today, I'm here with Varun and Esha, co-founders of Giga. Giga builds AI agents for customer support and are used by some of the largest companies in the world, like DoorDash, to handle millions of customer support calls. Varun and Esha, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Harj.
Thanks for having us here.
This is a very competitive space, AI agents for customer support. There's obviously very well-known and well-funded companies in the space like Sierra. So how has Giga been able to stand out and get an amazing customer like DoorDash?
Firstly, starting off with DoorDash is an extremely meritocratic company, and that's one of the massive volumes where we had to compete against 20 plus vendors to win a logo like that. The fundamental approach which differentiated us from vendors like Sierra is we built product, and they took basically more of a consultative Palantir type approach, which takes a lot of time to go live. If you consider DoorDash scale, hundreds of millions of calls, where if you say to build use case by use case, it takes months to get it to solve the entire thing. For us, we primarily built a product which makes it very, very easier for them to go live. For example, compared to other vendors where we piloted, it took them a couple of months to go live. We went live in a week. That's how fast it is. And that's one of the major reasons. And Isha can add more along the complexity side of parts.
Yeah, just so you know, although customer support seems like fairly easy use case to solve, but for companies at a scale of DoorDash who have millions of calls, there are a decent percentage or even tens of percentage of calls where they are extremely complex, where you have to coordinate with multiple parties over a real-time call. And that is something none of the other products seem to have. They didn't seem to support it. And we were the only ones who built the product in a way which is very general and can also solve extremely complex use cases at scale. We are live with some of these use cases right now. So majorly, it's just a purely product play.
Many other AI companies take this sort of forward deployed engineer consulting approach where they're almost building some amount of custom software per customer to get it working. But you've been able to build something that mostly worked out of the box, even for DoorDash's scale.
Yes, I think that we have a rule within our company for the product team. It's you don't build anything custom for any customer. Everything has to be a part of the core product. So you build something for DoorDash, every single other customer should be able to use the same product feature. So when we get very complex use cases for some of these customers, we don't build it out separately. We just figure out how can we scale our product to support this much more complex use case. Now, every one of our customers can also use the same feature for their more complex products as well.
The reason I feel like most companies take the sort of Palantir forward deployed engineer model approach is because it's essentially too hard to do that.
Yes.
There's so much custom work you need to do per customer to get the AI working consistently 100% of the time. How have you been able to solve that challenge? How are you actually able to have a product that generalizes across the enterprise?
So this is a bet we took I would say pretty much 8 to 9 months ago. This is something I think very other few companies actually do it. So Python and programming is the fundamental way to build anything you want. And one of the approaches we took is that Python is a first party member within our product, in the sense that you can write Python within the product to do stuff. And the bet we took was AI is going to write so much code down the line. AI is going to get so good at writing code. You don't really need to write that much code yourself. And that's paying off immensely for us right now, because someone from operations team on DoorDash can come in, talk to our AI and write code effectively themselves. And they just need to put in the business outcomes. And then AI is going to write code for them and build a very, very complex use case without much involvement from engineers. And since you can write Python within the product, obviously there are very good primitives on where can you write, where can you not write, where can you inject custom Python code. Since the primitive is literally Python, it makes our product by default extremely general. And it makes it very easy for us to add new use cases because we just need to develop protocols on top of these.
Okay, so that's interesting. So it's almost like the forward deployed engineer model is basically there's business logic that lives in the head of the customer's ops team or whoever. They have to translate. It's basically the forward deployed engineer's role is to translate that business logic into code, but you've actually just got AI doing it. And
yes.
So it's the business logic is natural English. They're typing it into your system, and your system is turning it into Python code that makes sure that the underlying product works perfectly for each enterprise customer.
Exactly, and it need not be Python as well. We convert for DoorDash, we convert tens of thousands of lines of JSON files, their internal JSON files, into actual natural language interpretable instructions and also Python code based on their stuff. So it's majorly we optimized it to an extent where even the FDE part of a sales process is done by an AI. So it's part of our product instead of like a human actually doing it end
You
to end.
do have a forward deployed engineer. It's just sort of like an AI forward deployed engineer versus a human one.
Yes.
That's fascinating. And you were working on, even, as I understand it, even when you were at IIT as undergrads, you were working on fine tuning of LLMs.
Varun did like research internship at Stanford for training these like LLMs. Back when like even ChatGPT.
Yeah, this is pre-ChatGPT launching, right?
Yeah, it's like
Transformer
it's not a
models,
transformer model. Not really a lot, but yeah, roughly yeah.
Yeah, I think like, our experience has mainly been around like fine tuning these massive models. Like we were the first people to extend Llama 2's context length from 4 to 32K. We outperformed Claude 2 and everything. That immensely helps us because we know exactly what AI can do and where it's gonna like, just blow up. And we will only automate the parts where we know AI can do really well. And especially when there are some of our products which are extremely token intensive, and that's where you need to optimize for per token cost. And that's where like, all of our previous experience also helps immensely for getting maximum per let's say dollar.
So going back to the DoorDash contract, so the speed in sales matters a lot. So it sounds like a big part of the reason you're able to win a huge contract like that is your time to show them the product worked was a week versus months.
That's definitely one of the massive reasons. Other massive reason is just complexity of the use cases. That one thing which I want to say is, this is a very common use case in DoorDash, which happens a lot, which no other vendor in the market was able to solve, which is, let's say if we are here at YC office, we ordered food and you went to your home, and it happens a lot. People order food with like office address at home and home address in office because they just keep switching. And you ask the Dasher saying that, hey, can you deliver it to my home? Because I'm at home, it's on the way. A lot of times, Dasher being the nice people, they deliver it to your home. And then they won't be able to mark it as delivered because it will be triggered by their fraud system because they're outside the geofence, because they're not at the office, right? So then they make an outbound call to our AI agent asking, hey, can you mark the order as delivered? This is our AI talking to them. Firstly, our AI agent does this. We check a chat history between you, the customer, and Dasher to see if you actually requested the address change. If not, while the Dasher is in the call with our AI agent, we make an outbound call to the customer in parallel. They're like right now, there are 2 calls running. And we ask you, hey, Harj, the Dasher is saying that he requested a new address. Did you actually request it? Yes or no? Once you say yes, we go back and mark the order as delivered for the Dasher. This is a one multi-party communication, and it's live right now in DoorDash. So these are some of the complex use cases which we solve. That's one of the primary reasons that we are able to win our company like DoorDash. It's primarily ability to solve very complex use cases, which stems from ability to write Python.
Yeah, it's like, solve this extreme. I think like when we were starting the pilot, they gave us this use case. I remember looking at it, I was like, oh wow, this is so interesting. And then initially like our product was able to do it to a decent extent, but there was not like really very strong, I wouldn't say like, it would not be like the best experience. But we changed our product a little bit, and there's like a new protocol where you can make outbound calls from within a single agent. So basically like a sub agent, if you think. And then like, the experience becomes much more better. And then like, we are the only one who can do it like at such scale.
In this case, the complexity in that example is that you've essentially got like a sub-agent or 2 calls happening in parallel, and they both need context on what's happening in each call.
Pretty much, it's like, Harj, like, did you actually receive your burrito you ordered to YC's office? Yeah. Because the Dash is claiming that he delivered it to your home. Is that actually true?
And how does it work? Like, so if you call me and you verify that I actually wanted the burrito delivered there, then once that call's completed, it tells the other agent that's on the other call that what happened, and then that agent knows to tell the Dasher, hey, this is totally fine.
And actually marks the order as delivered, yeah.
And then the funny part here is, like previously, yes, humans used to do it. It was a worse experience with humans because humans cannot stay on call with 2 people at the same time. Now, like while we are on a call with the customer, the Dasher can still talk to the AI. They can still ask about their pay. Previously, humans were like, okay, I'm going to put you on hold. Let me talk to the customer, and then put the customer on hold, talk to the Dasher. Yeah. So it's basically a better experience.
I'm smiling because this is sort of like it's sort of like the enterprise customer support version of Her, the movie.
Maybe, yeah.
Like the same agent talking to all these people at the same time. Are there any other ways in which the AI agents are actually better at customer support than human agents would be?
Yeah, the first start pointing is like we all hate hold times. I mean, like I remember we have been hold for 6 hours for IRS, which is like nuts if you take 6 hours. I mean, yeah. Firstly, hold times go away. That's like the biggest thing for all the thing. all the AI agents. And the second thing is the resolution times are like much faster. You get to the resolution faster, it again saving you a lot of time. Multilingual is a very major thing for a company like DoorDash. And understanding multiple accents, multilingual with multiple accents is very, very tricky because a lot of even people with not native language try to speak in very broken English. Now you gotta understand the entire thing. I mean, yeah, that's those are some of the major benefits that we saw, which is fundamentally like the CSAT also went like significantly up for the dashers. Yeah.
Okay, so now you've raised this huge Series A. Why did you raise the round right now, and what do you plan to do with the money?
Yeah, it's primarily to just deal with our demand. We have like a lot of customers on the pipeline and a lot of massive Fortune 500 companies that are piloting with us, and we just need to serve them and deliver like high quality experience for all of their customers as well. That means we need to hire faster and scale faster.
You actually have one of probably the strongest sales pipeline of any startup I've seen. How has that happened?
Firstly, our contracts, as you know, are like very massive compared to like a lot of startups of our scale, and that means that we generally tap to like C-level decision maker. Once they like the product really, really well, it generally like cross travels a lot, and they refer it to their other C-level execs who are friends. So I mean, if it's Fortune 2000, how many people? There should be like 2,000 people if you hypothetically think of. If every 1% refers you to 10 people, it should be like pretty easier for you to like get a warm network to all the intros. I think that's the primary reason. I mean, ours is a very, I mean, if you think of AI in general, the only impact it can make is like customer support or coding or the real use cases, which we are seeing in the market. And we are becoming like sort of like board's answer to like what's AI strategy in this company. And Giga is becoming one of answers. I think that's the reason which we have like a stronger pipeline even at anything else.
And I think like, obviously getting into the door is one thing, but once you go there and talk to these people who are like C-level execs, they are obviously very curious about the product. And the results we have like, delivered for DoorDash, and also like, the innovation we have on the product, even though they're not very technical people, just talking to them about it gets them so excited. Okay, this is going to transform my business. And that's the excitement we see, and that's how we just like get pushed up.
Yeah, I think you guys are just the epitome of what's really unique about AI startups right now, is that by having the technical expertise that you do, you're able to build the product that actually works, and just the product that works is enough to get a giant company like DoorDash as a customer, and then that's going to spread via word of mouth and open up all these other Fortune 500 companies that want to work with you. And I just don't think, I think that was very hard to do in the past, because most people could get the product to work reasonably well, or at least well enough to close the sale. But now we're in this new era where if you don't have the skills, technical skills that you two have as founders, you actually just can't get the products to work.
It's definitely a mix of market plus great product, I would say. As you know, all the companies are thinking what AI that they need to do, and customer support is one of the massive things of them. Yeah.
Why do you think customer support has taken off and become such a competitive space?
As you know, like, currently AI models, like, the recent ones, they can get gold medals in IMO. They can get like gold medals in IOI. And the biggest challenging part there is like, just the context. Let's say a model can get like gold medals in IMO. Why cannot it do like the job of a manager in an enterprise? The biggest reason is it doesn't know everything the manager knows. But if you think about like programming and customer support as verticals, a customer opens up a chat with you or some conversation with you, you'll learn everything about the customer in context, and you will solve it. So the context scope is fairly narrow for customer support and coding. Coding is also kind of similar. You learn, you look at all the files, you reason, and then you come up with an approach. Obviously, like, AI is here to just make people more productive and optimize a lot of these enterprise processes. Customer support and programming, according to us at least, are the ones with like, which are really fit well to deal with the current context limitations of the current LLMs. And it's just going to get like, as context gets better and everything, these models are going to do everything.
Yeah, and people try, I mean, right now, people are like even trying to proactively give more contextual LLMs as well. Even that also like solves the issue, and more use cases get unlocked. But customer support is definitely one of the...
Yeah, customer support is like in that sweet spot where, yes, you need to know a lot of the policies and everything. Yes, you need to know a lot of the customers, but it's not like too much, the people problems and things like that. It's not just too much for the LLM to just get confused about.
Yeah, the reason I want to spend so much time on just like the product and the AI for deployed engineer stuff, this is going to be gold. Like especially the audience that watches this stuff is very, very deeply interested in this kind of stuff. And we've spoken so much on our content about like the forward deployed engineer model, and there's so much interest in that. So AI forward deployed engineer is the first, like, I don't think anyone's going to have heard that before.
Yeah, it's like if you're building an AI product, you need to build your own FDE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, this is going to position you as like at the cutting edge. Like it's basically like everyone else is sort of doing the human forward deployed engineer part, and you're already like leaps and bounds ahead because it's the AI is doing the forward deployed engineer part. So Giga is 20 people today, and you're going to be hiring aggressively. How do you think about the culture you want to build as the team grows?
I want to start off with saying that not everyone is fit to join us, and the people we hire, they need to be like extremely smart and very mission aligned. And as an engineer, like how I would like put the role as in our company is that we are one of the only companies, or we are one of the few companies where you can have direct impact on potentially like billions of people if you join us. We are here to transform like, B2C enterprises to a massive degree. And it's starting through customer support. We're going to expand into other verticals. We will transform a lot of these experiences a lot of consumers have with these B2C companies. And the direct impact, let's say we go live with one of the big like Fortune 500s, which have like billions of customers, and we automate support for it, you are basically making the experience better for billions of people. And that's one of the ways, like, they need to be very impact driven. They need to have the drive to make a lot of these experiences really, really good.
Yeah, it's primarily a little bit of like a very high agency and very raw IQ is what I would put at it. And right now, we have like some of the amazing people who are joining us. We have literally convinced a guy to not join OpenAI and Anthropic, who were paying us like ridiculously high amount than us to join Giga.
As a startup, even one that's growing as quickly as you are, how do you convince people to join you instead of joining Meta or OpenAI and the giant amounts of money that they pay?
It's primarily directly because the amount of impact. See, by the way, this was a backend engineer and one front-end engineer who were like getting competed had both competing offers. The thing was the impact that he's gonna make on any of these companies. I mean, OpenAI is a massive company; it's not a small company anymore. Yeah. And the impact he can have at Giga the code literally which he writes can be transformed to hundreds of millions of people. Potentially every customer of DoorDash will get any one of these massive customers who work with us will get the direct impact. A lot of people who are not motivated by money, who want their work to be used by a lot of people, get motivated to join Giga again. But this is also not going to last to us if we become 1,000 people. But again, right now is a sweet spot where you build something which impacts a lot of people. Our primary mission of the company is to build a world towards perfect execution. And we'll try to optimize every single thing in these massive enterprises and try to optimize every process and every operations process and make it more and more efficient and execution driven. That's one of the biggest missions. And we're starting with support and we'll go to every single OpEx heavy thing in these massive companies and we'll try to optimize it.
So you think you'll go beyond customer support at some point?
We're already customers are literally like asking us to it goes something like this, right? What are the biggest OpEx things in the company? Support, where they have like a lot of hundreds of thousands of people, and then there's compliance. There's like a bunch of other things in these companies, and they're literally asking us, "Can you guys, since you're doing this, can you also do this?" So we're already seeing a lot of interest in these things. And one more interesting category of people which we have seen work out for Giga very, very well are former founders who just want to have high agency and a lot of impact. We already have these customers. We are already running pilots with them. They can work and directly work with the end customer and build a massive impact. That's one more category where we are seeing a lot of success of the people who are being really successful in Giga, former founders.
How about we talk about the two of you a little bit, actually? I'm curious about, tell us a little bit about your founding story. Like, how did you two meet each other, decide to start a company together, and give us the origin story?
So we both know each other since like 2019 when we both went to IIT Kharagpur. And then like Varun is like really passionate about startups. I think like since he was like 6 or 7, and then he has been reading Paul Graham essays, Elon Musk essays, and all of that. And then he has been trying to do a lot of startups during the college. And then we eventually applied to YC in 2023, and you were our interviewee.
Yeah, you applied with a completely different idea.
Applied with an...
Oh my God.
Yeah, you should tell us about the idea.
Our idea was to build an education platform for college students in India to get jobs. And that was the idea we applied with. And I think you know this as well. Like, when we came into the interview, your entire questions were like, oh, can you, Varun, you have this experience here. Can you talk about like what other companies can you build from this experience? And then we were like so surprised. We were like, Okay.
I mean, I rehearsed for this interview so much. I mean, like there are like 10 YC founders who interviewed me. And I mean, I know answers to all the questions, which is like, why this, what's the big TAM and everything. And you come to the interview and you ask for a completely different question, which is like a pick a new idea. And I was like, what? And
and then our thought process was like, okay, YC likes people who are very gritty, so we should stick with the idea we came in with. We're like, no, Harj, like, yes, there are other ideas, but we'll do this. And then I think like one of the questions you asked was, oh, if YC doesn't take you, are you going to keep doing your company? And then we said yes, but I think you knew we wouldn't have done it. Yeah, I think YC is one of the reasons like we even exist at this point in time.
It's honestly like kudos to you for just taking a bet on us. We got into this instant stage. I mean, like we both had like a high frequency trading offers, paying us more than 600K out of college, and I applied to a bunch of Ivy Leagues and I got into all of them. And at that point of time, YC was always this like North Star, one company who, I mean, I thought that YC was one of those things which creates this massive generation of companies.
Yeah, that was always something that stood out for me. I was always curious about this. I don't think I've asked you, but yeah, like, I mean, I feel like turning down quant jobs if you're in America and you grew up in America is sort of like one level of risk to do a startup, but like growing up in India and like turning down like super high paying jobs offers like must just be, how did you think about the risk of doing that, and were your friends and family supportive of it?
India is like generally like not a risk taking, there's like very low risk.
And friends don't like their friends outgrowing them typically, it's always tricky.
My dad thought literally I was like crazy.
I mean, maybe he was right, probably, yeah.
I clearly remember I got like this highest paying job out of all IITs. This high frequency trading firm is paying me this much amount of money.
Because you guys had some of the highest ranking scores at IIT, right?
He, not me.
Where did you rank at IIT?
I was like third in KGP Kharagpur. But I mean, the reason we decided to do a startup, I think like for Varun, it was majorly around like passion, and he's like, okay, I just want to do this. Like even if I go to like, let's say these HFTs, I'm still going to want to do a company. I will do it like regardless of what I want to do. For me, it was more along the lines of like, I was just logically convinced that, okay, just doing a company than working at like, let's say these HFTs for 3 years is still a better outcome for me, even if I fail by going into YC. That was just like a logical conclusion I came to. I was like, okay, sounds good. Let's actually give it a shot. And then, yeah.
For me, to be honest, it was just doing the hardest thing possible. I mean, it translates to a lot of our company culture as well. Just picking up the hardest problem and solve it. I thought genuinely like a lot of rich people and powerful people build their own business. So I thought I wanted to do something around those lines, and I thought it was super hard. And yeah.
It's kind of surprising because this aspect of, okay, we want to pick the hardest problems to solve kind of translates so well. Because we go into the sales calls and then we talk to these, let's say, C-level people. A lot of the other competitors generally ask them, okay, what's the biggest chunk of support problems we can solve? How can we get you to 70%? We don't do that. We go them and ask them, what's the most complex issue you have? Let me go and solve that for you. And then you trust me to take over the rest of the entire support ticket. And I mean, this is my personal metric to build a product. I want to get every single one of my customers to 98% resolution. And not because I believe it's a very good like ROI. Yes, it is a good ROI. But I genuinely believe like, it's a better experience for the end customers to get like an AI which can solve 98% of your issues. The biggest reasons humans still say like agent, a human, this is like classic behavior we see, is because there is no trust. There is no trust that AI can actually solve majority of the problems. But if you build an AI which can solve 98% of the problems, why would they not like, talk to it?
To me, it's just like the era to build a startup now is different, feels different post ChatGPT than before. And in particular, it's just there is a real return to being a deeply technical founder. And you can just build your company a different way. Like going in, I think it's going in and just being like, give us your, like building a whole sales process around, just give us your most complicated. Like,
and then I'm going to show it to you that we can do it.
Yeah, I remember. So I remember the interview. I remember you guys being very stubbornly attached to your like college student idea. Talk us through like actually going through YC, and you even had like difficulties getting into the country. Like, just tell us the whole journey.
No, firstly, I was more curious on why did you take us in?
The core thing we do is just invest in people. So it was very, very clear to me, even in the 10 minutes and from reading the application, that two of you are like extremely high IQ, extremely determined. The fact that you had mentioned that you were turning down the HFT offers and you were turning down. Actually, I was impressed by the fact that you were even willing to turn down your research offer from Stanford. So in general, all we do at YC is trying and find people who are like unusual compared to their peers. And so the fact that you are like IIT, and yes, I wasn't born in India, but my parents from India, and I just know culturally it's so risk averse that I was like, wow, like if they are willing to take this amount of risk, they're probably quite unusual people. And then in the 10-minute interview, it was clear just that not just that you were smart, but you just had a certain intensity about you. And yeah, one thing I've learned doing this for a while is there's sort of, yes, like I didn't like the idea. It was probably very obvious. And it is a bit of a high risk strategy to keep defending the idea anyway. Yeah, but I know I've learned that if you're just smart and intense enough, like I think those people actually are always just sort of stubbornly attached to the idea. This is actually, it reminded me a lot of the Amplitude interview. Amplitude is now a public company doing analytics, and this is like a decade ago. Spencer Skates, the founder of that company, also really, really high IQ, very intense person. He had an idea to build like a voice assistant for you while you were driving, but this is like 12, it wasn't really possible. But he just defended it so intensely. I remember the interview thinking, like, anyone who's this smart and this intense, you just sort of have to invest in and work with them. And it took them like a year and a half to find like the Amplitude idea, and it took you guys like a little bit of time as well. But I just that intensity I think is quite rare. That's why we funded you.
Yeah, coming to the YC thing, we thought it would be so easy to get into US, to be honest.
Yeah,
we go there.
No. In the interview, I think when you gave us the offer, you were like, okay, when can you show up in in the US? You were like, okay, we'll be there in a week. Yeah. And then you were like, okay, are you sure you can be there in a week? We were like, yes. And then actually, like, we could have gotten here in a week. We did have like a visa interview scheduled, and then we went to the visa interview. I think like the entire B1, B2 visa system is like kind of like, it needs some cleanup. But we went there, they asked us like, hey, are you married? Do you have kids? We were like, no. And they were like, okay, you're rejected. We were like, what? And then we come back.
Your interview was at least like a little longer. Mine was like just 3 questions. Married, salary, how much is your salary? I was like, I have my own company. And I was trying to explain what YC is to that guy, and he was like, no, it's done. For a minute, I was just like, I did not even realize that people can reject you on a visa interview.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what's happening with my life? It's just...
Yeah, I remember. So then, because this was for the summer 23 batch, and so then you had to do the batch remote, essentially, right? So I didn't actually meet you in person, probably...
Until like January 2024.
Yeah. So it's which is getting close to like almost close to a year since the first interview, probably like 9 to 10 months after the interview.
The insane crazy thing was everything became harder, right? I mean, we don't know what our peers were working on, and it's our first time trying it out as well. Then we put it to fine tuning, and we picked a really vertical where we can nail it.
That definitely, but on that note, it definitely felt to me like you getting here, being Silicon Valley, and being here at YC in person definitely really helped accelerate the process of finding like the new idea, right?
A lot. To be honest, it's extremely helpful because. I mean, I remember back I was in India. This was, again, thanks to Gary Tan, the reason the fundraise happened, right? I mean, I was asking my peers how much money they were like raising, and they're like 60 interviews scheduled for everybody. I remember asking to you, I was like, Harj, I have only 8 investors. Am I doing anything wrong?
This is for your demo day fundraise.
This is my demo day fundraise. And you were like, no, you just go with it. You just go with the flow and everything. And almost surprisingly, almost all of them end up investing. And Gary Tan told from our seed investor from Nexus, you must invest in Giga. And they took a bet on us. And it's that fundraise really helped us a lot because we're back in India. And
I think like just having 0 peers, and then like we both are like, okay, we just quit everything, and then now we are stuck in India. We want to be there, and then we don't even have like, especially with the education, YC really helped us because you connected us with a lot of people in education, and you were like pretty determined to get us off of that idea. and then we spoke to a few people. We were like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Let's pick something where we are good at. We pick like fine tuning, and then the inference, that vertical, and then it's majorly because of Gary, I think, our seed got done pretty much.
I remember, so like the timeline was basically, you applied with the student idea, you pivoted into the fine tuning as a service idea,
in a month.
In a month, yeah. So hitting almost the midpoint of the batch, and then you raised at demo day on the fine tuning as a service idea, which actually I remember it got pretty decent traction, like early on. What exactly happened to that idea?
Okay, so for some context, we were basically training these open source models, fine-tuning them for specific use cases to get really good performance, outperform like let's say Claude or GPT-4 or whatnot. And then back then, GPT-4 was the only real smart model. And it was like crazy expensive. If you remember the prices, it's like $32 per million tokens or something. it had a good traction because people were optimizing for cost. And we were like, okay, it's good. People want to optimize for cost, and then we're going to train these models, and you can use our inference. And then we had like decent revenue as well. And the biggest issue with that idea was, it was like a broken funnel. People would come in, yes, they would be happy, like it's nothing wrong with the product, but then OpenAI or Anthropic, like, they just release a new model, which is like, let's say as smart as GPT-4, but like, let's say 10 times cheaper, which actually happened with like GPT-4o. It was like, I think 4 times cheaper. And then we saw our customers, they were like, okay, we want to move to OpenAI now because this new model can do these new other things. And our fine-tuned model was trained for this use case. We had to retrain it, and then it was just a lot of like, continuous iteration we had to do to keep up. And it felt like we were kind of betting against the AI wave than betting into the AI wave. It's like, okay, if OpenAI stopped making better models, we would be doing really well. If OpenAI continuously made better models and cheaper models, we would be doing worse.
Yeah.
So that realization we got, I think in February or March 2024, we were like, okay, we don't want to bet against AI. Let's just go into something where we bet on AI.
Okay. And then how did you come up with the idea for Giga?
We were pivoting and trying out like a bunch of different ideas. And some of the things we're at a point we're trying to even build a software engineer. So we're definitely like jumping on like a lot of ideas. Again, Nexus made introduce Zepto founders, and they told that customer, and that's when we got to know that like customer support is like one of the real problems, and they became one of the first customers.
Oh, so you were introduced to Zepto, and you just went to talk to them in general about, hey, like what are your problems using AI?
Yeah, we tried like a little bit of hypothesis. I think there was one of our mutual friends who, again, another YC founder who worked at Uber to automate their support, and they were talking to me about support problems. I just made a hypothesis that Zepto might also have similar problems.
Yeah.
It was a shot in the dark, and it kind of worked.
Yeah, we spoke with them, and then like, they were like, okay, there's this huge event coming up in India. We need to hire a lot of people. If we can help use AI to automate support, it would be massive help because we don't have to hire like 2,000 people or something. And then we were like, okay, this is the first application problem. So we flew to India. We were in SF. Flew to India. We went and sat in their call centers for like, days, and then observed how they support people do this work. And then the solution we built was like so custom, so random. It's like they didn't have APIs. So we built like a web automation solution on their CRM, which was very hard to scale, but we scaled it anyways. And then it was like a very custom solution for Zepto we built out.
And that sort of laid the foundation for the product as you have today.
Yes.
Yeah, at that point of time, we realized that we are not going to do consulting again.
Yes. Oh, yeah, no. We were like, okay, this is no way going to scale. Yeah. And then that was where we got our determination, like, we have to build a product. There is no way we can scale this and then it was a very interesting product challenge as well. Like, we knew all the kind of support problems Zepto had. And we knew all the kind of support problems for a few other companies. And now the problem was, how do you build something in the most simplest way, which can solve all of these different problems? That was basically the product problem we had to solve.
Okay, so if we look ahead to the future a little bit, I mean, you guys are right at the cutting edge. Like your agents operate at like probably like the largest scale of any agents in the customer support space. Where do you see this space evolving of AI agents in the enterprise in general, and especially as the models themselves get more powerful?
This is the bet we are also making. Data and context are the most important things, and AI gets better. The companies with the most context and data would be able to perform the best. Even if like OpenAI had a much smarter model, but if it doesn't have the context, it cannot do much within an enterprise. And that's where we are heading as well. We start with customer support. We provide a lot of value to our customers. That sets us up to win a lot of these other operations within these enterprises. And the vision of our company is like, this is maybe like, a decade away potentially, but we want to build a platform where the next $1 trillion businesses are built on top of. And we want to build the most efficient ops automation platform in the world. And we think we are like, very well positioned because customer support is one thing people are looking to automate right now. And next things would be like, something which involve more context. And since you already solve support, you have like all the context about potentially any kind of issue customers might face that will make you make better judgments in other verticals within the company. So that's where we think like the market is heading towards like, potentially consolidation rather than like, point solutions for each of these AI verticals.
Since we have context from every single customer and what their past interactions and what are they looking, and even like both like very micro and macro level view of what all the customers are asking, it helps us solve other customers, other issues in the company very better.
Yes, it's like, fundamentally every company is an optimization function on top of like value you give to your customers. And if you understand the value you give to your customers and the issues they are facing, you can write that function in a really good way.
For Giga itself, like when you think about how big the company could be, are there existing big companies that you look at that you aspire to, either because of something they've done and how they built the product or the size of the company today?
I think we aspire parts of different companies. So Salesforce, I think we really aspire like the way they built the most general product. And obviously like, we don't like the design of Salesforce, but obviously like, they built the most general version of CRM pretty much. And OpenAI, I think they are always at the forefront innovating and things like that. So different parts of different companies are something we aspire, but I don't think we are looking to be like, oh, we want to be the next OpenAI or we want to be the next Salesforce or something like that.
Different parts of different countries is like, Anthropic for some reason, I think has a very
good taste.
Yeah, taste and a lot of great talent compared to OpenAI right now who are going to them. Yeah.
Varun and Esha, that was fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us. That's all we have time for today. Congratulations on the round, and I'm looking forward to seeing Giga continue to grow into a giant company.
Thanks a lot,
Harj.
Harj.